Hello and welcome. I'm Scott Hayes at Rimini Street, and I am joined today by my colleague Eric Helmer, Senior Vice President and Chief Technology Officer here. Now, Eric is one of my favorite people to talk to about ERP strategies, about technology, about innovation, and you are about to find out why. Our topic for this short video is about innovating without migrating. You see, SAP customers are getting pressured to migrate their current system on two fronts. First, at the end of mainstream support for ECC and Business Suite by 2027. And then second is the push for the Rise with SAP program that converts perpetual licenses to subscription and bundles in additional commitments and services. So Eric, let's get right to it. How do you typically frame up these ERP strategy conversations with SAP customers?
Well, you're right, Scott. This is a crossroads for a lot of ERP customers today, SAP and even Oracle. But I first need to start by trying to understand where they are on this crossroads decision. And typically I see customers kind of struggling with what to do next, because on one hand, they want to maximize their investment in their existing ERP that they have and minimize the spends associated with those ERPs so they can refocus resources on the innovative projects that need to get done that really move the needle for the company. And balance that with how do you do that when you're getting these high pressures from these vendors to completely rip everything out, abandon those on-premise perpetual licenses that they have today, and then re-implement everything on the vendor subscription-based cloud, which can just cost them millions with not much value to that. Once I kind of understand where they're leaning towards in this, and I can help them walk through options that they have to minimize these costs, avoid unnecessary cloud replatforming. And usually that's just done by keeping that core ERP that they have today and then innovating around it.
Yeah, that innovating around is really important because part of that approach, at least what I'm seeing, is that there's a new, really important seat at the table, at the IT strategy table for those line of business leaders, because they're coming and saying, I want this new cloud solution for this or this cloud solution for that. So how do you advise IT leaders to embrace that line of business seat at the table?
Well, I think first we have to get everyone to recognize that while ERPs are very critical and necessary to the enterprise, we kind of have to come to the realization that it really in and of itself doesn't do anything to move the needle for the business or differentiate the business or innovate the business, right? It just runs the business. And in today's climate, we're seeing CIOs categorizing systems into two kind of separate buckets. One is a bucket is this system simply a system of record, or is it a simple transaction system that's not really differentiating business? And then the other buckets are systems of innovation, right, or systems of differentiation. And once those two are identified, now there's a playbook that companies can now start moving to outsourcing these commodity systems to get that off of to reduce the resources needed to just pretty much keep the lights on. And then they can start focusing on putting more of their attention and resources on those systems of innovation. And once you get that alignment with the business and IT, now that's where you have cooperation that happens, because there's a clear definition of where all the systems belong.
Yeah, and how they align. So, bringing in those modern applications and technologies alongside those, as you say, systems of record, which they're paid for, they're perpetually licensed, they're stable, they're mature, and they're typically highly customized applications, right? And that's so this, modernizing and taking a more pragmatic approach to putting together a stable of applications that are right for the business. What technologies have arrived that enable that putting together of the right best fit applications?
Yeah, number one is really the availability of modern day data integration and orchestration platforms.
Yeah.
That we just didn't have decades ago, right? When people wanted to choose an optimum mix of best of breed or best fit solutions, the data integration was always quite a challenge. Applications historically don't talk to one another natively, but with all the advancements of open APIs and data integration platforms, we are now more than ever in a best position to be able to choose best fit solutions that deliver the best business outcomes and not have to rely on the limitations of one single monolithic solution for everything. The second one I think is really important to mention is the advent of zero trust security models and role-based access management systems, right? Because once you create more and more systems, which we think is just going to continue to grow over the years, the attack surface tends to get bigger and bigger, right? So by bringing in that zero trust model from the very beginning and ensuring solutions plug into that to ensure compliances is just a great way to get those best fit solutions with the least risk.
I like to say that these new technologies for integration, orchestration, and security turn that composable ERP into cohesive ERP, and security can never be an afterthought for that, that's for sure. So we mentioned in the abstract for this session the idea of self-funding innovation projects, which sounds like a win-win. So how do you see that happening?
Well, that's the major value that Rimini Street offers to our customer. First, our support is typically half of what customers pay to the vendor. And we do so much more, like support for customizations and tax and legal and regulatory updates, performance questions, how-to questions, and so on. So we take all of that self-support burden away. So, and then additionally, on top of that, we free the customers from those forced upgrades so that they don't have those deadlines like the 2026, 2027 deadlines that they're going to have to make these choices. Those dates don't apply to our customers. So when you add up the cost savings plus all the self-support that you do, plus the taking away the need for those forced upgrades, the funds that are returned to the business are massive, and it can certainly self-fund innovation projects. A lot of projects I'm hearing people really want to focus on is improving the customer experience, getting better data insight and analytics, making better use of AI and machine learning, and of course the cybersecurity, improving the cybersecurity. So these are all very important. And IT budgets aren't getting more money; they might be getting less money. So this is a really great creative way of self-funding these projects.
So I actually do have another follow-up. We promised in the title of this session to talk about the ways that SAP clients are innovating without migrating. So do you have some examples of those?
Well, what we're finding is that most ERP customers are only using a fraction of the features and functionality that they're entitled to in their existing system today that they purchased 10 years ago, right? And that many times when a company wants to implement some sort of new capability, they're looking to their existing systems first to see if it can be done there without having to buy something new. I mean, this is some of the most robust software ever written. It's intended to be able to be customized and used to its maximum. And sometimes people don't even realize what they already have today. Now, for those capabilities that simply just can't be done in their existing systems, companies are looking to extend and complement their existing ERPs with external solutions. But doing so by minimally extending to external solutions only to get that incremental functionality that is needed. So you don't have to rip and replace the entire enterprise to get that one incremental functionality. You just extend just to go get that incremental functionality, right? And to get there with the path of least resistance, right? So the idea is to implement, right? Don't re-implement, extend, don't re-platform, right? Integrate incremental solutions, not replace everything, right? So for example, if you had a ERP system that doesn't meet your needs, say maybe in the world of HR, you could remove that HR function out of that core ERP and extend that HR function into something externally, maybe something like Workday or something like that, without having to completely re-platform the entire ERP just to get that HR problem solved, right?
Yep. Right. Yeah. HR is a common one that we see. Also, obviously, CRM. With Salesforce are two very common, but you really leave the core financials, operations, maybe order to cash right in place because it's working and it's customized and it's paid for.
So what they do the best. That's what they do very well, right?
Exactly. So summing it up, let me kind of net out the 3 smart ways that SAP customers are innovating without migrating. Number 1, delineate the current technology and future projects as either systems of record, systems of differentiation, or systems of innovation. Number 2, calculate the ROI of core ERP re-platforming. And hint on that, it's likely to be negative. When you're talking about just re-platforming what you have, very expensive, not necessarily a huge return on that investment. And then number three, you can self-fund innovation by massively reducing the total cost of ownership for support and maintenance of those existing systems by outsourcing them to third-party support and services like Rimini Street for those what we call commodity systems, and redirect those funds to innovation. There you go, 1, 2, 3. Well, as always, Eric, I appreciate your perspective, and I encourage our viewers to block out some time for some composable thinking and to ask that question: where could we innovate right now if we took full ERP migration off the table? Thanks, Eric, and thanks, everyone.
Thanks.